Hi there, welcome back to my channel. This is Lydia with Sweet King's Garden. I just wrapped up my first collaboration video with Sarah from A Homesteading Hustle. I will link her channel down below, but what you're about to see is Sarah and I just having a real life chat about Greenstalks and what we've learned. It's both our first years really growing with the Greenstalks, so this was an extremely exciting, raw, candid conversation. So I hope you enjoy it.
Hey Lydia, how are you doing today?
Hey Sarah, how are you? I'm
doing good, thank you. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. I'm really excited to let's talk Greenstalk. So
yes.
I know that you have two Greenstalks. I just have one here, and this is my first year with the Greenstalk. But tell me about your Greenstalks. How have they been doing?
So I want to say 2.5.
Yeah.
Because I started with ordering one Greenstalk last year that came in at the very end of the season.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have like a full season to grow with it by any means.
Okay.
So this is truly my first season growing with the Greenstalks. And of course, as the holiday sales came about, I was like, oh my gosh, I need more. So I bought 2 more. And I have one that's dedicated to strawberries and then one that's dedicated to lettuce, greens, herbs, and flowers and stuff. And I have to say, this is a year of learning.
Yes. Oh, I can agree.
Very similar
Definitely.
to what the theme is on my channel, but they're doing okay. I'm optimistic to continue learning about the Greenstalks.
Yeah.
And, for future seasons ahead.
Absolutely, I agree. I saw in one of your early garden tours that you were going to put strawberries in it, so I'm anxious to see. I'm not sure if I saw an updated one yet. I started watching your latest garden tour, but I got interrupted. You know, I have kids.
Yeah.
But I need to finish that because I want to see it. So why don't do you want to show us your Greenstalks?
Sure, yeah. So, not to put too much stock into what it looks like right now. It definitely looked much better earlier in the season, but this is how I have things set up for right now.
Okay.
So this is obviously my strawberry Greenstalk. I do have flowers, but no like real fruits on these anymore.
Okay.
It's currently the heat of the summer here in Maryland, so I don't know if the variety of strawberries I have are supposed to be like earlier season and whatnot, but they're still green plants.
Yeah, well, and our strawberries are done now too for the season here in Minnesota, and our strawberries are already done, so it's probably just that time. You know,
perfect.
Done producing. It probably has nothing to do with the Greenstalk itself. It's just time.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm taking that as some reassurance over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've never grown strawberries either, so I was like, oh, this is all new to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was one Greenstalk, and then my second one that I have a lot of stuff in. This is doing much better, mainly because I just have a different variety of stuff that's planted, right?
Yeah.
So I have a lot of salad greens, Swiss chard, nasturtium. I have spinach and arugula, but honestly, I only harvest really just the lettuce greens from here.
Okay. Do you have any in your garden too? I'm trying to think. If you have lettuce greens.
I do. Yeah, I had some butter crunch lettuce in my garden. All of that went to seed. Okay. So I have to harvest or really sow another round. Of lettuce greens, but for the most part, like our lunch salads this week will all come from greens from this Greenstalk here.
That's awesome. And you have these pretty close to your house too, so you can just easily come out and grab them, right?
Yeah. And I'm out here every day in the morning, so especially.
Easy. Yeah, that's awesome. So you have such a variety of lettuces in there.
I tried.
Yeah.
And I'm figuring out which lettuces I like and which ones I don't. So.
Yeah, that is awesome. So cool. So I'm trying to think, did you have any herbs in any of your Greenstalks?
So that's the third Greenstalk that I had. I had this vision at the beginning of the season that I wanted to have one that was really just specific to herbs. Right. Like mint and lemon balm, the things that you don't necessarily want to plant directly into a garden because it will take over.
Absolutely.
And I also had this mission earlier this year to start everything from seed, and I just really struggled starting my herbs successfully from seed. So what I did sow into the Greenstalk really didn't germinate much of anything. In fact, the middle one right behind me that I'm pointing to now,
Yeah.
that is my herb, my dedicated
Yeah.
herb Greenstalk that just really didn't do too much of anything. So I think
Yeah.
next year I'll just have planted like starts that I actually plant into this Greenstalk, and then hopefully I'll have that be my redemption year of the herb
Absolutely.
Greenstalk.
And it's so great that you brought that up, actually, because that is one of the main cons. I mean, I love the Greenstalk, but one of the main cons that I found is that everything that I planted from seed, I mean, not everything, most things that I planted from seed really did not do great. And
Yeah.
I think the reason for that is because it's a top water. You water it from the top, it's going to be better for deep-rooted plants, as opposed to when you're starting seed. I mean, obviously you need to water the little seed individually, and there's a lot of pockets in these guys, and if you have multiples, you have to individually water the seeds to keep them wet.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the issue when it comes to germinating seeds in the Greenstalk, because I found
Yeah.
the same issue, and I also had a lot of ideas to have my Greenstalk is really an herb garden, so I could easily come out here, because I have mine right here on my porch. I know yours are in your garden. Mine's right on my front porch, and I was like, I want to have herbs easily accessible, and it didn't pan out that way. I don't think any of my herbs took, and if they did, which I'll show you in just a moment, I'll give you a little tour of mine too.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is. I don't recognize it. It might be lemon balm, but it doesn't really smell like lemon balm. So
Yeah.
yeah, herbs did not work for me. Mine is mostly flowers and a few lettuces right now. So
Okay.
but yeah,
And the flowers and lettuces that you have in there, did you start them from seed as well? Or
Well,
were they?
yeah, so the lettuces, they did start from seed, but they're not super big by any means. They're just like a couple little leaves. And then almost everything else, almost all the flowers except for the zinnias were started from a plant start.
Okay.
So here, I can just show you a little tour
Yes,
real
I'd love
quick.
to see it.
Okay, so here I started some marigolds here. So all these marigolds came from my husband bought me one of those 6-packs with this in the cells. And I
Okay.
started these marigolds, and then they have actually filled out really well. I did a really good job of pruning them early on so they actually would fill out.
Okay.
And so we got the marigolds, we have some, I believe these are violas. And then I have petunias. And then I did put some Swiss chard in here. And that's doing pretty well. I haven't harvested a ton of it off of here, but that's one of the lettuce screens that I put in here.
Okay.
And I did put some zinnias over here, and those were from seed. And then again, we have more marigolds. I did kind of spread the flowers out throughout the Greenstalk to try to, I like how initially you did, like you planted them in one of your videos in like a pattern where you kind of went around the Greenstalk,
Yes.
kind of like alternated around.
Yep.
And I kind of took that like advice to kind of spread things out so they didn't all clump together. So that's why I have some of these are the same flowers just in different spots. So I really kind of spread out these petunias. And then I did put some banana peppers in here. They are just pretty little still. They have not fruited or anything. There's no flowers even on them, so who knows if that'll work. And then, let's see, I have calendula here. And what other flowers do I have in here? Lots of petunias. These white petunias are really, really pretty. They're pretty exciting.
Oh my gosh.
And then
I would have. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah.
Oh no, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the pros that I would have to say for sure is just how stunning the Greenstalks are in terms of just like being a centerpiece for wherever you're placing them. In my case, I have it in the corner of my garden, and it's like just, even though things aren't really germinating as well as I wanted them to, I still have a lot of variety, and just seeing the structure is gorgeous. And I'd imagine for you it's the same thing if it's right outside your porch.
It is, and you can actually see it from the road, and it really is quite eye-catching.
Oh,
It's
beautiful.
so cool to see. So, and then this is the little guy that I started from seed, and then there's another one right next to it. So maybe we can take a peek at that later and see if we can figure out what that is. And then my lettuce is here, and I actually don't know what variety these are. They are just some sort of, just a general lettuce. I don't know. They're not kale, they're not, it's like a mixed green of some sort. Maybe I'll take a bite. But yeah, here I am jumping on lettuce now. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna turn back around.
When my strawberries were going, I think I would have like at least 5 strawberries a
Yeah.
day. The plants didn't produce a ton, but enough to where I had warm strawberries in the morning.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's so wonderful. Yeah, it's amazing. Here I am still crunching on my green lettuce. That's okay. We're just gonna crunch away. But yeah,
Go
so
ahead. And how do you feel about Swiss chard, if I can interrupt?
we'll taste that one too. Okay. It's not my favorite green.
Yeah.
I did add a little, when this was young, I did add it to a little bit of a salad. And I feel like when it was young, it was tastier than it is right now.
Okay.
It seems a little bitter to
Yeah.
me.
I get like a strong spinach taste from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's gorgeous,
Yeah,
and I
but
know it's like very
it is
good
beautiful.
for you. But
Yes.
right now, it's
Yeah.
just like really an ornamental plant for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've definitely been just observing it. Apparently, I haven't really eaten much of it, but I mean, they say it's really good for you, and I know some people, I think down south maybe, they like saute Swiss chard and like a hot green plate with it.
Okay.
I don't know how, I haven't looked up recipes or anything like that, but I have heard that that's could be a thing.
Yeah.
So maybe, I mean, doing something like that could be a good.
Yeah. I feel like I'm on a quest
I don't
to
know.
find a good recipe. Even if I don't, I
Yeah,
think I might
well-
try growing it again in the fall in case that changes the flavor profile a little bit.
Right. Yeah, actually, it probably would, because think about like the heat when it comes to like radishes, stuff like
Yes.
that. If you grow and harvest those in the summer, they're going to be a little spicier, as if you do it like in the spring or the fall, they're going to have a bit of a more mild flavor.
Right.
So I bet Swiss chard is the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Try it. Let me know how it goes. So, okay. So what has been your favorite thing to grow in the Greenstalk?
Oh,
Like what has worked really well
yeah.
for you?
So I have to say, the lettuce greens truly have taken off. So all of,
Yeah.
for the most part, everything except for the strawberries, I started off from seed, with the exception of,
awesome.
I think, 3 Swiss chard plants, ironically. They were just little bitty
Yep.
plant starts that I started them from seed, but indoor, and transplanted them.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the nasturtium is also becoming my favorite,
yeah.
and nasturtium is another thing that I've grown for the first time this year, and just the way it billows out of the pockets is like
Yeah, so
super neat
pretty.
to see. Yes, and I just can't wait for
Oh,
next
I
year,
love that.
because right now all of my nasturtiums are orange, and I can just see having
Okay.
just different varieties of that
Yes.
being beautiful.
And that's an edible flower
Yes.
too. I don't know anything about it. I've actually never grown it, but I have just recently heard that it is edible.
Yeah, it
So
is. Maybe
it'd be a,
I think I'll try it.
What a
You
pretty
know,
little
if you're
way.
gonna snag
Yeah,
it on
you
camera, I think
should.
I'll do the same.
please do.
So
Yeah, I bet the flowers. So you know what's so fun, if you make like a pretty, like beautiful green salad, and then like find the edible flowers and just put them on the side, like as garnish.
right,
You know how
yeah,
pretty
and
is
you don't
that?
have to worry about saying don't eat that, because if someone eats it, that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, I'm gonna
Exactly.
try the flower for the first time.
Nice. Yeah, tell me what it tastes like. Is it lettuce?
Oh my gosh,
Okay. Does it taste like lettuce?
kind of like a fruit. Oh, spicy.
Or like a
It was
flor-
fruity at
spicy?
first, but then it's like, I have heard this, like a wasabi aftertaste. Wow, that is insane.
Interesting.
In like a very,
So I wonder
very
what.
intriguing way.
Yeah, I wonder. That's interesting. I wonder what you would do with that. Like you could definitely add that to a salad.
Oh my gosh. So I absolutely love Asian cuisine. And
Yeah.
I made, gosh, months ago, It was a tofu bowl with like like thin strips of peeled cucumbers,
Okay.
carrots,
Yeah.
like a nice crunchy salad with like a nice good sauce.
Yeah.
But I remember when I ate that bowl, I was like, I need some ginger and like something spicy, like wasabi or something. I can
Like
see,
a wasabi flavor. That would be
yes,
perfect.
and beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, what a good idea.
Mm.
Yeah, such a good idea. Cool. Let me know if you try
Well,
that.
I will.
You'll have to you'll have to make a video
Yeah,
on
so
that.
I cannot wait to try that recipe now. Now I also can't wait to tell Alex that I tried it in nasturtium.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to tell them that you tried a nasturtium. That's awesome.
Right.
Very cool. Okay. So, moving on, let's see, besides the nasturtiums, and like what else has been your favorite in there? What do you think has worked really well in your Greenstalk?
So yeah, lettuce greens definitely
lettuce
seem to work
greens.
well once they were established. Honestly, the strawberries were working really well
Yeah.
early in the season when they were blooming. So I think maybe like I was just paranoid that I did something wrong, and I think
Yeah.
they're just not in season right now.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Do you feel like, so have you grown strawberries in the ground as well, or is this your first time
I
growing?
have not.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, so we have grown our strawberries in the last 2 years, just put them in a garden box. And because strawberries send out those runners that want to re-root in the ground,
Yeah.
I've been curious on if those are not allowed to root with like a Greenstalk would prevent that from happening unless you're constantly redirecting it into different little pockets.
I am. Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. So
I'm-
as it's setting the runners,
Yeah.
I'm just redirecting them exactly that into another
that's
pocket.
brilliant. Okay, so that's what I was wondering.
Behind me, there's actually like 2 tiers of my Greenstalk.
Oh, yeah.
I have a 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4, 5-tier Greenstalk.
Yep.
2 of them, I only had enough strawberry plants to plant in every other pocket.
Okay.
So when I have extra runners that cascade from the top,
Yes.
I'm just moving them into one of those empty pockets.
That's so smart. Yeah, and that's how if I was going to do it, which I do plan to try that at some point. I probably won't do an entire Greenstalk in it just because I'm not sure. At this point, I just have the one. But I would like to do that, put some strawberries in there, and exactly like you're doing, kind of redirect them into different pockets so they have that ability, because that'll obviously increase your production.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
The only downside, however, I can see to that is if for some reason you need to take your disassemble your Greenstalk, you're
they're
essentially
connected.
binding the layers to each other.
Yeah.
Or the
Okay.
tiers to each other.
Yep.
And so if I wanted to change the soil
Mm-hmm.
or reduce it from a 7-tier to a 5 or even relocate it, I can see that being a little tricky.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I have a 7-tier Greenstalk of all strawberry plants
Mm-hmm.
and some things need to get snipped, I don't think it'd be like the worst thing.
No, and
No.
and if they're already rooted in there, the plant itself is already rooted, and so if you just snip between them, I think they'd be just fine. Do you?
Okay, good.
Yeah. Do you plan on keeping your strawberries in there, like ongoing,
Yes.
like and just letting them do their thing next year and seeing like how it goes?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting experiment. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, and I first learned about that from the Roots and Refuge page. I know
Yeah.
like a lot of
Yeah.
folks that watch my channel and probably yours as well are familiar with that.
Yep.
And I think she has dedicated her Greenstalk several years to strawberries. I
and
just have to
leaves
look
them
to
going.
see if I
Yep.
have to protect them from air winters
Mm-hmm.
here, or what maintenance I would need aside
Right.
from just making sure that the soil is really good for the next season.
Right, and just continuing to maybe just do some kind of fertilization. I wonder if
Yeah.
you just put some sort of just like a covering over the top for the winter. And just, I mean, almost like you cover your grill, like a grill cover. I wonder if they have maybe Greenstalk has a Greenstalk cover, or that's something they could create.
Right.
So then you don't have to take it apart for things that you want to be perennials for the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
that's a good idea.
that
Yeah,
is
so we'll see next year
cool.
how
Yeah.
things turn out.
That's awesome. So, speaking of care and maintenance, and what do you do? So, I don't put I haven't fertilized this at all. I've just been watering it, done the top watering. Sometimes I'll occasionally water individual pockets. And as far as like the soil, I actually watched, again, your video early on, and you talked about putting the proper soil in there. And because you do have to put potting soil in there, it needs that aeration that potting soil allows. You don't want it to be too compressed.
Right.
Besides those things, what else do you do to care for your Greenstalk?
Yeah, so in terms of care, it's really just watering, and I guess going back to pro versus con, one of the cons is just making sure you're diligent in watering your Greenstalk, because it's not getting water anywhere else. It's not pulling it from the ground, right? But in terms of care, just watering it, I did buy a jug of concentrated fertilizer from Greenstalks website, and I've fertilized my Greenstalks only one time.
Okay.
I haven't done it on a regular basis. I did it mainly because both the strawberry Greenstalk and then the other one were looking pretty, really like
they needed something.
And I felt terrible for the plants. Like,
so
I totally neglected them, but they definitely perked up after I did that, so it works. But I also try not to manipulate too much. But it's really just watering regularly. And in terms of watering, like obviously watering from the top, when I used to water each of the pockets using the flower setting on my hose nozzle, just because I felt like it needed like at least like a fresh spritz,
fresh little layer on the top,
not just the dripping from the top. But then our hose nozzle broke, and I haven't done that since.
Our hose.
Now they just get watered from the top.
Well, our hose doesn't
unless
really reach.
It rains.
Yes, the rain definitely helps, especially on those outer pockets if they just need a little extra. Our hose doesn't reach super, like, I mean, it reaches here, but it's kind of a pain to get over here. Or maybe I'm just being lazy, but we have these water troughs sitting outside our house, and most of the time when I water my Greenstalk, I just take a bucket and fill it up a couple times and just dump it from these water troughs directly into the top of my Greenstalk. And that's what I'm usually doing, just flying out in the morning on my way to work or whatever. That's how I'm watering my Greenstalk. But it is so essential to keep it moist. And like, I agree with you that the top layer in the dirt just kind of seems like sometimes it needs a little love. Especially if you don't have like a ton of foliage on the top and it's not like being shaded, because you're not like really mulching these. I mean, I'm sure you could, but mine doesn't have mulch.
Mine's certainly very much exposed to the sun.
Exactly.
And heat.
Same.
So quick question for you, Sarah. In terms of watering from the top, did you have any concerns about the water running through the center hole of that top tray?
I actually initially was like, am I even doing this correctly? Because I would pour it in the top and it'd rush down the center hole and it'd come out the bottom, and I was like, well, how is that watering anything? It's just coming out the bottom. But I guess, I mean, obviously on each layer it has those individual holes, so it does have a drip of some sort. But I do feel like the top gets watered more frequently and more evenly than the bottom. So I don't know, I actually don't really know how it functions when it goes down the center. I mean, does it go down the center and like, how does it disperse? Do you know?
Well, I noticed the mulch, because my Greenstalks are directly over natural mulch, like the mulch would be very much saturated. So I'm thinking like a good portion of the water, I feel like, that I'm dumping into the top is just going directly onto the ground and not having a chance to run through. So what I ended up doing, I actually didn't even do it, my husband seen it, and I think it annoyed him. Because I'm more of just like, oh, let it go. But he was like, no, we have this, we need to fix this. And
fix it. It's a problem. Let's fix it.
And we had an excess of these silicone wine stoppers that I never used. We got them as gifts like years and years ago, and now I just have a wine stopper in the top. It actually plugs the hole.
That is a really good idea.
And
that's really interesting. So then
the water that does run through, it goes directly in those small little holes within the trays that then goes to each layer. So it seems to be working.
Does it feel like it takes forever for it to drain down?
It does, and you have to be careful of debris clogging the holes. Like sometimes I'll find like seeds that are being dropped from birds and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That, or even dirt, if I have water that has a bunch of different stuff in it that I probably shouldn't be dumping in the top of my greenstalk. Sometimes that will clog up the small holes.
Okay.
And I just need to unclog that.
Yeah.
But it does, I mean, gosh, it does take quite a while to drain, but I think that's good because that guarantees that all of that water that we're dumping in the top is making its way through all the pockets.
Yep, and actually being absorbed rather than just running straight through
Exactly, right? Because I guess a concern that I can see for someone who, say, wants to have this on their patio is just like rotting that area on your patio if you're watering it constantly, because it does truly need to be watered. Yes. And it weakening the structure below it.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah, because I mean ours is on cement and yours is in your garden, so I don't have anything that's really a concern underneath mine. It just kind of runs into the driveway. But yeah, if you're on wood or anything that you want to kind of protect the bottom, or even if you wanted to take this inside, which I've thought about taking it inside for the winter, I'd have to be really careful about watering and definitely get some sort of reservoir for it to actually sit in.
Right. Right. So. And not to mention, there are a lot of areas right now that have rain shortages and whatnot. And how painful is that to see all of this water just get wasted?
Yeah.
When you could actually make sure that it's serving a purpose.
Yeah, trying to conserve it and kind of use that gray water for other things. Yep, absolutely. So speaking of actually putting it in something, do you have that like rotating stand that they go on?
No. If I did, we would see a different side of my greenstalk right now.
Yeah, actually, okay, so good point.
Yes, because I do have a best side on my greenstalk.
Yes.
But no, I did not get the spinning device at the bottom just because it's going directly into the mulch.
Right, that makes sense. So because of where mine is, I would highly benefit from that. I don't have it, but I might have to get it for next season because it gets really great sun on this front half here, and then on the back side it's pretty shaded, which is where I put like the lettuces and stuff on the back side, and so that works well for those type of plants. But if I wanted to change this up a bit and get some full sun on it, I definitely want to rotate it.
Yeah.
And I do think that would be really helpful. And even just for like us showing right now, I'd be able to turn it around and show you without moving the camera itself.
Right. Yeah. If I had to do this again and my greenstalk was on something other than mulch, I would definitely invest in one of those rolling
the rotator. Bottom.
Yeah, and actually my friend Dawn, which I mentioned her in a couple of my videos, she's the one who gave me a few sunflowers that I planted for the first time. She's actually a first-year gardener and she has limited space, so I had suggested, like, why don't you try the greenstalk? I'm trying it this year too. And she has one of those roller trays, and she found out on her deck there was like a super sunny area, and that's where her greenstalk was positioned at the beginning of the summer, and it fried her plants. So she was able to quickly just shuffle it to the other side of her deck, and where it's a little more shaded, and things have been doing fine. So that gives you the flexibility to be able to move it or rotate as needed.
Exactly, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like because it's so heavy when it's loaded with the dirt, it's really, you're not moving this. Unless you want to fully take this thing apart, you're not moving it. So it's definitely some kind of rolly situation that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and
Super
Sarah,
smart.
the heaviness is actually a great point. When I was thinking about pros, cons, or what I learned, things to think about, if you are purchasing or starting a greenstalk for the first time, or even getting a new one, I'm sure those that are getting a new one will already know what to do by now, but make sure you're loading, like filling it up in an area where you know you're going to end up building your greenstalk.
Yeah, because you're not moving it, so put it where it's going to be.
It is heavy, so when I got my first one, I think I filled it up in an area where I didn't want to get dirt everywhere.
Yes.
And then I had to lug it halfway across my yard,
There's
which
your
was
workout for the
good
day.
physical activity if you're looking for some exercise. But
Yes.
if you didn't sign up for that, that can be a bit of a challenge. So
Yeah, exactly.
I would,
Or if you're not physically even capable of that, you just want the
Exactly.
flowers, and you're like, I can't even do anything about that. So let's empty this sucker and start over.
right, yeah. So be mindful. Make sure you're using that
Yes.
potting soil that you mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And then I would just have each of the tiers like sprawled out on the ground nearby where you're going to have it, fill them all up
Right.
at one time, and then just start stacking from there.
Yeah, super smart. I think that's a great point. Well, and it's also great for just growing vertically. Obviously, like vertical growing in gardens right now, like with trellising and stuff like that, is a space saver. So when it
Yes.
comes to being able to grow upward, and they say that you can grow vining things off of here. I haven't actually seen them. Like, I'm sure you'd put some sort of like additional trellis maybe next to it or something for it to climb on. But doing like beans or peas or something like that could be really neat in here.
Yeah. My friend Dawn, again, she has grown all kinds of things like tomatoes, beans, peppers, and so much in her Greenstalk. And then she, of course, was like addicted to it after like starting to see everything. So she told her sister-in-law about it. Her sister-in-law is growing cucumbers. And she sent me a picture the other day, and she has cucumbers grown, sowed in the bottom of her tier, like the bottom tier.
Yep.
And the picture shows the vine like making its way across their deck. Because I mean,
weird.
where else is it going to go? So,
Yeah, that's true. It's gonna go. Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm sure with those throughout their little like twisty spindlies, it's trying to grab onto random things on the way.
Yeah.
That's a really cool idea. I think I would like to try some sort of trellising thing from this at some point. I'm just really enjoying the flowers this year, but. So as you know, we have chickens and ducks, and they're 100% free range. So what I've noticed with those animals in particular, that I can't plant anything in the bottom of my Greenstalk because they just took it out. There's one marigold down there that has lasted. Other than that, they took out any seeds. The dirt's basically like dug out.
Oh my gosh.
So for me, or for anybody who has the Greenstalk in an open space, and you have free-range chickens or other animals that dig or burrow their bills in or whatever, it doesn't work. The bottom rung does not work. So that's something to take note of for anybody who has that animal issue.
Wow, that's a great point. I don't have any animals yet. My hope is to get chickens next year.
Yeah.
But
We'll keep them away from your Greenstalk.
yeah. Okay. It sounds like they'll just stay in my fenced in garden then.
Sounds good. Do you have, I know that you've had some issues with critters getting your tomatoes, and I know that you've been mourning a yummy tomato. So you haven't noticed any squirrels or anything getting into your Greenstalk?
No, except squirrels really like my strawberries.
They like your strawberries. Okay.
Yeah, so earlier this year, my husband was in the garage, and I think I was inside cooking, and when I walked outside to come out into the garden, he's like, I just want to let you know the squirrels can get into your garden, because he was running up and down that Greenstalk grabbing those strawberries and whatnot.
I bet it was cute though. I bet it was cute to see him do it.
I know, right. I'm of the mindset that where if they want some, that's fine. Just don't take all of them.
Yeah. No,
and I don't
definitely
need all of them either.
You're like, I'll share.
Yeah. So, but
awesome.
other than that, I haven't had any critter issues.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, what else would you tell me about? I mean, do you have any more pros, cons, favorite things, or anything of that sort that you'd like to add to the Greenstalk chalk?
Yeah. So, let me just look at my notepad here, actually.
Yeah. I love that you take notes, Lydia. I definitely do have some notes
well,
here.
you know,
and
I
they blew
take
away
notes
at some
because
point.
if anyone sees me comment on Sarah's videos, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this girl."
No, it's great.
But it's because
I love it.
I always have reactions like throughout the videos, and I'm like, I want to speak to that piece.
I do that too, and then I end up commenting, and then I'll comment again like 3 or 4 times sometimes. Keep it all separate.
Yeah, I think really just, I think we covered it in terms of pros,
Yeah.
cons. I know, like, next year I do truly want to see, like, all herbs, but I think I'm just going to make sure that I actually put plant starts in the Greenstalks this year, or next year I should say. But I'm really curious. It's just a fun experiment, you know. I think that's, I guess, a pro is that you can always grow something new each year or each season. So it's very interchangeable.
Yeah. Nope, I 100% agree. I just think it's going to be fun each year, you know, because it's an investment, the initial investment. But I've totally thought it's worth it so far to experiment. And each year we're gonna learn a little bit more and know what works, what was our favorite thing to grow, what we'll do again. Yeah, I'll definitely, like you said, do some plant starts. So I'll probably do, since I want herbs in here, I'll probably start some herbs indoors. Some of the ones that will transfer well, like basil, that's going to be an easy one to transfer out. Some of the other ones, maybe not so much. Like dill has a deep taproot, so I probably won't do that. But yeah, definitely just starting indoors maybe, or buying them already started and putting them in. I think they'll just flourish a lot more, and then unless you have the time to individually water every day, which I just really don't.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I love it. Well, if you don't have anything else to add, we can definitely wrap this up. I definitely think that we covered a lot of really great topics and a lot of good insight into somebody who may be new to the Greenstalk, like we have been this year. You know, it's always such a learning experiment, and I mean, really, gardening always is. And each year is going to be different depending on where you're at, too. So, yeah, well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Lydia. It was so fun to see your Greenstalks and to hear from you. And yeah, you have a lovely day, and I will chat with you again soon, Lydia.
Yes, thank you so much, Sarah.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope we were able to answer some questions that you may have had about getting your own Greenstalk. If we missed anything, if you have any other input, please let us know in the comments below. Lydia and I are always willing to listen and to learn, and you know, it is our first year at the Greenstalk as well, so we are all ears. So thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful, blessed day.